Hello.
Evening, Jermigos. At least evening in this part of the world. Um, so we are closing up our study sessions. I think almost.
Really? Because I just set 4 of them up.
Well, it depends on how much you talk, Alex. That's the thing. The more you talk, the more episodes you're going to have to make. I think that's like a rule or something like that.
I'll be quiet the rest for the next 57 minutes. Go.
Yep.
No, because you have to answer the quizzes.
I think everyone's eager because we're even hearing from Sean to get things started. So,
all right, here we go.
Without further ado, when we last left our heroes, we were going through AQL, not JQL, mind you, not Jira query language, but the assets query language that is used to help filter for specific assets. You can use them in automation rules. You can use them to filter out in select lists the assets that you really want. And so we were looking at the general structure where in the assets that we want, we always had the attribute or some type of thing always to the left, the values to the right, and then you could use equals, keywords. You can specify object types. You can specify objects themselves. And then we were about to hit this button here with other queries. And so some of these other queries allow you to do things like, Sarah?
Like combining queries, right? So much like JQL, it is going to have operations such as those and ors. So we could have where the status is in running and the group is in Jira developers so that we get all of those things, this and that. We could have object type computer system and system running again. So both of those things must be true about that particular object in order for it to return those results to us. Then if we wanted to get into finding, hey, maybe we're missing some values over in our attributes. So we can use is empty to locate those things, or maybe we just want to find all the ones that do have something, and we would say is not empty. And again, this is going to feel very familiar to you if you're using JQL. Similarly with these dates. So we have our less than, greater than, so our system date less than, and notice that date format. We have created is great. I said I'm doing my less than greater than opposite, but created is greater than start of the month. License date is greater than -30 days. So a lot of that carries over from one to the other with, I'm going to again say the exception here is just worth repeating is just watch your capitalizations. It's more those object type names and especially those attributes. You want to get those correct or it might throw an error at you.
Right. And then also remember with AQL that if an attribute or a value is made up of more than one word, always surround with double quotes. So
another great call out. Yep.
Now, just like JQL, AQL has functions, and so there are functions. And I'm not going to torture Sarah by having her just rattle off all of the.
It'll be a test, a speed talking test.
But if you are a master or mistress of JQL or JQuil, whichever one we're on, we're pretty open on that. A lot of these functions are really familiar, right? Especially looking at these date functions where it's kind of the standard. It's kind of the standard set. Oh, and Sean might want Alex to read them off, but
in Spanish.
But I don't know. I don't want to do this for another 5 weeks. That'd be
right.
Because he'll read off one and then have a story about how he used that to meet up with Mr. Beast, and so
you're just jealous that I have stories to share.
No, we're not. We got to really get a move on.
So what are those user functions?
So
Bob?
looking at the user functions. Oh, some of these are also familiar to you JQL users or JQL. Current users, definitely one of my favorites because it lets me make one query that I can use. And then if I want to share it with somebody to have that show what they're up to, having current user allows that kind of flexibility. So if you share it with somebody, it reflects on them, so on and so forth. Current reporter, user, and then within the parentheses, right? And
our group
finally,
functions.
we got group functions. And what are the group functions? Basically the same thing. Groups, and then you can specify individual groups inside. And then same thing with user. All right. So
But a call out here.
got a
in our
call out
group
here. We got a blue eye.
Yeah, and our syntax of relative date functions like start of week is slightly different. So the exception to the rule here for all those JQL similarities. And this one lets us note that our end date less than start of week minus what can't I say, 2W. This finds objects with an end date later than Monday 2 weeks ago.
Okay.
I'm not sure what the difference is, except for maybe there's a space with end date. But how is that different?
Let's see. We have an end date. So normally,
It's like the invert. The
yeah, if you
less
wanted after, it would be a greater than instead of a less than, right?
Mm-hmm.
Right. So
Yeah, that's why there's a big blue dot by that, folks. So do the opposite.
all right. So this is an example of an AQL function. When you do a search, you have, like we said the last time, you have a choice between basic and advanced. Basic gives you the pick list of attributes, and you can select the attributes, and then from there, select the values. Advanced allows you to type in your AQL or your AQL.
And by the way, when you do basic, just like over in JIRAland, you can switch to advanced so that you can just grab that AQL if you need to use it at other places. So maybe if it's not your strong suit yet, rely on the basic search to grab that.
Excellent point. All right. Okay. This is fun. This is the really meat of the matter. This is what makes AQL so powerful, is the dot notation. So we're taking a look at, attribute name on the left, value on the right, but don't forget, assets can reference objects can reference other objects. And maybe you want to get at an attribute to a referenced object. And to do that, you specify the attribute after the reference object through dot notation. So that allows you to just kind of follow the dots from reference object to attribute to, and then fully on down, right?
And Sean says fun in quotes, but I think it is. And also the dot notations to me is very similar in Jira Automation with smart values, how you can go user, right? Like you need reporter.name perhaps, or assignee.email address, right? Because it knows that field, assignee, and then you tell what part of that do you actually want to pull forward. So that's one of the ways it can be used in automation with Jira. And then over here, what we're talking about too, though, is you can use that to go further for those referenced objects as well.
Yep. So we got some examples here. All right. Employee object type, we have a reference attribute called belongs to department. And so the belongs to department attribute references the department object, we want to return all of the employees in that HR department. So how do we do that? We have so we would do, let's see. So it would be Sarah's gypsying the she's gypsying the answer.
I'm not. It sounds like thunder outside, and I wasn't expecting thunder, so now I'm actually checking the Weather Channel. Is it thunder, or do I need to be worried? Okay, it is thunder. Anyway, yeah, this is not my strength though. So normally, as King Bob just referenced, I would often rely on something like Robo to help me write these things out, because use a crutch if you've got it right. But yeah, this, it's going to be something with, let's see, employee object type. So employee dot belongs to, I don't know.
I think, okay, so I think what we're going to do here is we're going to try and find all the employee objects, right?
Mm-hmm.
That have whose value for the belongs to department is HR.
Mm-hmm.
So it's going to be employee dot belongs to department equals HR.
I love it.
Okay. All right. We ready for the answer?
Yes.
All right. Oh,
It's cool-ish.
almost. Okay.
But we need to tell it, what kind of object type we're looking for.
Object type equals employee.
And then
Belongs to department dot name.
Yep.
Equals HR. Okay.
No, granted, that dot name, depending upon your attributes, it could have been dot department or something, but dot name grabs that. Yeah, and it always does feel a little bit opposite to me, Mr. Green Jeans, for those in my demographic, that you would put the attribute first, right? And the attribute dot notation equals. I don't know. It's backwards in my head, friends. Okay. We'll go see more.
All right, let's see. Let's kind of breeze through these. Find all objects where any application is running. So that's going to be like, application dot status equals running.
Mm-hmm. Beautiful.
Okay. Dot status. Find all systems connected to a virtual host. That's going to be, I don't know, virtual host dot, I don't know, connected system, something like that.
Let's see.
Dot name. Here we go. Okay. Object type equals system, and host dot virtual equals true. Okay.
Yeah. Because there's things you don't know about how these particular schemas are set up.
Okay. Find all systems where the system owner is the logged in user. Okay. I think I got it.
All right.
I'm going to go with system dot owner equals current user.
Current user. I like it.
Okay, object type equals system, system owner dot Jira user equals current user. Okay.
And I think our takeaway here is the ability to recognize the structure of these things, because chances are on the 420, it's going to give you something like the find all systems or system, right? And then you're going to read through different options that might work, right? They'll probably have all of the right words, but just scrambled up in some way is potential. But I haven't taken this test again, this particular one that you'll be taking, but it's likely that's how it'll be configured.
Yeah.
We've seen that pattern elsewhere.
And then here is another example. Yep. And then here we're finding all of the laptops that have all of the laptop models that come with 8 gigs of RAM.
Mhm.
All right.
Asset fields in Jira.
Yes.
Fields,
Asset
what?
fields in Jira. So what really where you really see the power is when you have fields set aside in JSM that reference assets. And so you can and it's not even all of the assets. You can even use you can combine it with an AQL query to give you a filtered list as possible values. So
But it will have to come from a scheme.
yes.
Is where we start when we create an asset field in Jira.
Yeah. Now, what you can do here, all right, using AQL function is you can embed an AQL query inside of your JQL. So we're really to use a Ghostbusters reference that Alex may not get, we're crossing the streams.
Yes. AQL and JQL, dogs and cats living together.
Yep.
It's chaos.
So this helps us with the JQL search by allowing us to filter further down based upon asset objects. So we could have, business service in AQL function, and then this is an AQL query inside.
So business service, yeah, our Jira field.
Mm-hmm.
And then any time that Jira asset field has email services, that's what we're going to pull up there.
Yep.
Cool. Same down below, business service. And then you could filter it by something else. Importance equals critical.
Yep.
So think about what's in that field and then how you would write the AQL to find that value.
All right. So we have in our last example, the one that's graphical, we have an employee assets field used an incident request. We'd like to find incident work items associated to the Alana grant employee object. We would embed AQL inside the JQL query to search for those work items. And this is what that would look like inside. Now, note we're in Jira. This is JQL. Employee, and then we're looking for inside, the AQL name equal to Alana Grant.
And notice those slashes in there too.
Yes. The slashes in there are used to kind of break the inner double quotes, because the entire query has quotes around it as part of the AQL function.
And those will trip you up every time if that's not the thing you do every day.
Yep. All right. Now we're gonna let Alex loose, right? All right.
Why do I have to answer the questions?
Because I'm going to read the questions.
You showed up.
Exactly.
Well, I can unshow up. That's easy.
So, Alex, our dear friend Emily, a service project admin, needs to find a specific laptop asset within her company's IT asset management system. She knows the laptop serial number and wants to use the most appropriate search method. Which search method should Emily use to quickly locate this laptop?
The basic
Would it
object
be
search.
an object schema search, a basic object search, an advanced object search, or global object search?
B.
A basic object search, because she knows
Her
the
serial
serial
number.
number.
So
Don't waste time, Bob.
I'm I'm not
Taking your
wasting
sweet time to
time.
click on that button.
I'm leading with a valuable test taking tip. What are the ones that it cannot possibly be? Cannot possibly be the first one. Cannot possibly be the last one. So that gives us a 50-50 shot, basic versus advanced. And we'll take a look at B. And Alex, you got it right. Look at that. Because we know we have a specific attribute, the serial number, so we can it's pretty straightforward and easy to find it if we know the attribute.
And
Oh,
back
it's
to me
you
again.
I don't know if you should read this question about you, but
It's okay.
all right.
So, Sarah, a service project admin, needs to write an AQL query, redundant, to find all computers that are currently running Windows 11. Which of the following AQL queries should Sarah use? And I don't know if I want to read all these, but is it object type equals computer and operating system equals Windows 11? Object type equals computer and Windows 11? Object type equals computer and operating system like Windows? Or object type equals computer and operating system or Windows 11? The last one is like, how ridiculous can I make this?
It can't be that one. We're gonna rule that one out.
Agreed.
And then
Yes.
I think I would rule out the second one too, because Windows 11.
There's
Like, I
no
feel like-
argument for it.
Yeah.
Right.
So we're down to and operating system equals Windows 11 or and operating system like Windows. And I think you would have Windows 11 as an actual OS and not like just like Windows, because we still have Windows 10 and stuff. So I would probably go with the first one.
Agreed. And even just what we know about JQL, we could apply that.
So I think I'm gonna give the I will show you the answer, which I think you have it right, and I'll explain why C is not the answer.
Woohoo!
Okay, you got it right because you're given two attributes, right? The computer and operating system equals Windows 11. C is the same thing, right? You have two attributes, object type and operating system. We have like here. Now, like works if your values are text. So that would imply that you are filling in the operating system just by typing it in, right? And that would be a bad thing because maybe you just want to have a select list, Windows 11, Mac OS, Red Hat Linux, right? And just pick from the list. If you set the operating system as a pick list, like is not going to work.
Awesome.
All right.
Okay, Michael, a service project admin, needs to write a query that returns all employees in the HR department, just like we did above. The employee object type has a reference attribute called belongs to department, which references the department object type. How should Michael write this query using AQL dot notation? Will it be object type equals employee and belongs to department in HR? Object type equals employee and department equals HR. Object type equals employee and belongs to department dot name equals HR. Or object type equals employee and department dot name equals HR.
Well, it can't be the first two because there's no dot notation on those two.
And that's
Right.
what we assume we're doing.
Right.
It's really blurry on my end. So I'm assuming
Same here.
Okay. Bob just busted out the CRT for this video. Okay.
How's
All
that?
right. So it can't be the first two. So now I want to say it's the third one because that's the one that has like belongs to department versus the other one's just department.
I think that's very good thought process.
So let's go with C.
And this is where if you're taking the test, you use your highlighter and say belongs to department. Down there belongs to department.
Yep.
Well done.
Last question.
Alex is ready for the test, guys. Lisa, a service project admin, wants to extend her JQL search to include conditions based on the assets database. She needs to find work items connected to a critical business service. Which function should Lisa use in her JQL query? Is it AQL function, JQL function, asset function, or search function?
Ooh. Given that every other question has been AQL, I'm gonna go with AQL.
Context clues. I agree with you.
A quill.
A quill. A quill.
The feathered writing instrument. Correct. 4 out of 4, friends. Well done.
All right. Onward and upward. Let's look at creating asset object fields. So, asset object fields. Basically, I don't know. I
You don't
I need to go. I need to go to the bathroom. So this is like the equivalent of a DJ putting on "Stairway to Heaven." Alex, tell us what a field is.
BRP. System fields. Wait, are you serious or am I reading this? You're not wearing an adult diaper?
Goodness. All right. So earlier we were saying that in order to use AQL in your JQL to find values in the fields, this is now telling you what are those fields. So system fields are the core fields delivered within JIRA. We know what fields are. We have them on our issue types, and there are a variety of different kinds of field types. So our short text, our number, radio button, checkboxes, and our new friend, the asset objects field. And so assets provide a generic assets object type field. It's an all-purpose field type that can display asset object information and reference other fields. It is also offering flexibility in terms of defining how a field behaves. The assets field type can also be configured as a cascading field. So what does all this mean? Our asset object fields enable teams to access asset objects directly from the JIRA Service Management work details. Technically a JIRA as well. So basically is you've got this great big database back there that you've built. You've got your ITAM, you've got your assets out there. You want to be able to surface that information out on your work items. So those may be your change requests, they may be your incident requests, they may be all kinds of HR requests. And so you have all of your employees out there as assets. So how do we surface that information out on one of our work types? We do that by creating the asset objects field. So we're able to create a field and connect that to the assets. You do that by adding it, you select the schema where all that data is held. And then you are able to further refine that through AQL to only show certain object types maybe, or object types that meet a specific criteria. And then you can also surface some of that attribute information. You're going to tell it what it can be searched by, what is visible when somebody sees that asset field out on their work item. And now you can even say what should be available on the JSM portal. That won't be on the quiz because it's brand spanking new and very exciting if you've lived without it. So point being, here on your JIRA Service Management form, you can surface these asset fields. Basically, as soon as a customer logs in or is on your portal, they're basically granted a view-only license for your assets. And at that point, they have these drop downs. So actually what you're looking at right now is what it's going to look like regardless of whether it is an asset field that you put on your request type or an asset field that you put on your customized form. So a user can come in, they use this drop down, they could start typing in items that match that criteria based on the attributes that you have allowed to be searched by. They'll start appearing and somebody would just select one of those items to add it into their request. So in this case, an employee might be saying, I have a problem with one of my devices, and we can filter that because we can do things with AQL, like filter the objects that appear in this dropdown based on current user. So if the current user being the person who's reporting this issue, we can show them just the devices that belong to them and they can select from that. Or this might also, yeah, that my laptop is broken. That is the scenario that they are using. And Bob's like,
I thought Bob had to go to the bathroom. What happened to that?
I think he was teasing us. And
All right.
so, since a customer can put that on the form and when they submit it, now the agent has visibility into that selection. And not only that, they don't show it here, but when you click on that little graph, you could see related items or additional details about that asset. When they click on it, it'll also drop down and expand to show whatever those attributes you selected when you were setting up your asset field.
Right. And then, having that asset information is nice on the actual work item, because take a look here. If you know what this icon is, it's the object graph. You can actually see all of the references that asset has with other attributes and other assets through references. So.
All right, so how do we connect these things? So when an asset object is selected in an assets field on Jira Service Management work item, a link is established between the object and the work item. So much like you can link together two work items and you can reference one and see one in the other, it's very similar in here. We just saw how we could see that asset on the work item itself. Now, if we were going to go look at the asset itself, that object, then you would also be able to see all of the linked issues to it. So as it says here, this is helpful, especially for incident management, because the graph can be used to traverse the dependencies. So if I can open up that asset a little bit more, and I can say, oh, this particular service, let's say, is linked to this other service. And then we know that it might have a greater impact when there is an incident on a particular service. So right there, our application in this case. So what is the impacted application? We used an asset field, and yep, the user selected the Bitbucket application. All right, that was an exciting click. Oh, they're on separate screens.
Oh, wait, there's more.
Wait, there's more. And so what happens is when they click on that graph, this is the view that they see. And on the right panel, they can see the details. So what are all of those other attributes? And then on the left, technically, they see the graph and they can see the graphical relationship between those. All right, and that's it for the clicking.
That's enough clicking.
Oh boy. So the benefits and restrictions of these field types. Switching between single or multi-select at any time. Woohoo! So unlike in Jira, where you have to go create a whole new field if you decide you want it multi-select. In this case, all you have to do is go into the context area and say, multiple objects can be selected in order to change it from a single to a multi-select or vice versa. And you can have different field settings for different contexts. So let's expand that one, see if we read it the way they want us to. Can be configured as a single select field in one project and as a multi-select field in another project. So again, because a lot of what you do when you set up these asset fields is work with their contexts. So that means, yes, we can also display different objects depending upon the context. So project HR might want to show all belongs to member in department HR, whereas you might have a different project that says show all members that belong to department legal, let's say. And so you guys can both use the same field, but have different values showing up for that. All right, and then advanced filtering based on selected values in other fields. You can create cascading fields by filtering asset object fields values depending upon selected values in other fields. So for instance, maybe I want to raise a ticket on behalf of somebody else. So I could have this is not a great example, sorry, but if you select a person, And then whoever's selected in that asset field for that HR resource, now you can filter your devices by whoever was selected in the previous asset field. So there are ways to do those lookups. By the way, Jimmy Wickman has good videos on that. You might too, Alex. I just know
Jimmy.
Jimmy's. Yimmy, thank
Jimmy.
you. He's my go-to. All right. And so what are some of our restrictions on asset object fields? Is they are not available in some apps. So
Womp womp.
plans in Jira and forms. What do they mean, forms? Jira forms, I'm guessing. Sorry.
Yeah, I'm
I
guessing
keep forgetting
Jira forms, not JSM forms.
Like we're in JSM land. What do you mean? All right. And then migration to another instance can be complicated. Until recently, migrating asset field data from one instance to another can be complicated because asset fields contain object keys. That data will be different when importing into another instance. A custom script is needed to manage the object key conversion. So this is one of those places where, yes, if you don't use queries like name like something or something, using equals and you identify by a key, that is going to be challenging. Okay, so that part is still challenging. I was just excited because now assets migrate in many more ways than they used to. All right.
All right.
I'll pass it over now. Back to you, Bob.
Okay. So you want asset object fields. How do we create them? So first things first, you have to be a Jira admin because only Jira admins can create, configure, and edit asset object fields just like regular fields in Jira. Only Jira admins can create those fields, configure them, and edit them. So the Jira admin will do that by doing these 4 types. They'll create the Jira field, select the assets field type. They'll configure the field to query asset objects. So this is where the AQL knowledge comes in handy because you will, when you go through the configuring the field, you have to put down an AQL query. And then everything else is just like with the regular field. You can associate that field with screens. You can also assign the field to request forms. So what goes on with asset developers? Once the field is created, the asset developers have the ability to add and edit objects from the asset object fields. And then your run-of-the-mill Jira users, like agents, need to be granted permission to view objects inside the object schema. But they will still be able to see the values through a temporary user role when viewing the work items. So
Blue Eye.
Blue Eye.
Only users with Jira admin permissions can create and configure asset fields, which should feel a bit like a duh moment. This conforms to all the other rules. So I think we're going to get a peek at what that looks like to configure the assets field.
We are, but I have to throw in my WKRP.
I thought you were going to respond with a WKRP.
Yes, you brought up Thanksgiving in WKRP. So, all right. So let's learn about these settings. So this comes when you're creating the asset field. You actually have to go in here. First thing that you do is you specify what object schema it's coming from. This is required. Next, you can filter it down using AQL. So in this case, we are looking at all applications. So object type equal to application and status not equal to retired. So basically applications that are active. You can then, for the individual issue, have one other filter. That is the asset owner is the assignee on this one. So that will further filter the assets listed in the assets field.
And so if you're going to create a cascading one that's dependent upon another, that's where you would put that in.
Yep.
And let's see how up to date that is. Oh, I think it is.
Yeah, I think it's
Wow.
pretty good. All right. So this information deals with, we dealt with the querying side. Now we're looking at the display side. So what gets shown? What attributes of the asset get shown? All right.
Oh,
And
first it's the
that's
search.
from the search, right?
Yep.
That's from the search filtering. This is what gets displayed actually in the work item view. And then this is what actually gets displayed in the portal. And then single select versus multi-select. This is the slider that Sarah was telling you about. And then this is whether or not you want to display that particular object as the default in the portal.
It's always we should have a debate one day about defaults in Jira. I think there's definitely two sides of that, as well as a third. It depends. Always, never. It depends.
All right. So we're going to circle back to the second thing to talk about filter scope and why it's really, really important when you have these set up in your asset fields, right? It is the most important configuration. Very, very, very important. It basically allows you to limit from a possible pool of, say, 1,000 or so machines to the ones that are owned, to the 2 or 3 that are owned by Sarah. So, and the way that you limit that is through an AQL query, like we've talked about. Although the fields are not required, a field cannot display any content unless at least a filter scope query is provided. So usually when I'm kind of like futzing around with this, I usually throw the most simple query that's going to return everything. But I usually know that I only have like 5 or 6 objects, object type equals computer or something like that. And I already know there's only like 5 computers in the CMDB, so I'm only going to get 5 and not 5,000. If you select objects from a schema that is different from the one configured in the object schema field, only objects in this object schema will be displayed.
Yeah. So if you pick
cannot use
HRs.
placeholders.
All I was going to say, yeah. So if you accidentally chose the HR schema and then you put in object type equals applications, you might not get any results because it can't find anything in that schema.
Yep. All right. So filter work item scope. So that's that second stage filter that you can apply. All right. So that further narrows the objects that you can select. So this one does support placeholders. So might be useful to have the available values in an assets field depend on values selected in other fields on a work item. So this is where your cascading, as Sarah has mentioned, this is where the cascading effect comes in. So in one field, user selects the type of hardware category, laptop, tablet, smartphone. Another field will have only the valid hardware assets for the selected category. Or we could have an assets field showing assets that belong to the reporter. So other potential uses, we could have the additional qualifier. So this is, again, using the owner attribute so that objects belonging to the owner are displayed. We've seen some examples of that. Referencing other asset fields. So based on the value selected, in the country assets field, office assets field can use a filter work items query to display offices in the selected country.
I was thinking red staplers when I saw office assets, and then I realized, oh, that's not what they were thinking.
Different office. Yeah, that won't work in the where's the office located? Scranton.
Oh, that office is in
That
Scranton.
office. And then referencing JSM fields. We could have the filter work item scope query cause assets field to only display services that are owned by the tickets assignee. So object type equals service and owner equal, and we have $ assignee.label. Blue eye.
Blue eye. I got this. To ensure
Okay.
a query returns the desired objects, test it using the advanced search in the schema view before applying it to the assets field configuration, right? So earlier, that's what I was saying. Hey, sometimes I do basic and then go grab the AQL. And in the inverse, grab your AQL, head on over to your asset schema, make sure you get some results, unless, of course, you are using a variable, and then it's going to fail because it's not going to know your variable. So then put it on your form, restrict your form, and test it there. All right, I'll keep going. So we can
All right, keep
associate
on.
asset fields with JIRA screens. And this is, you were always able to do it, but now it's bigger news that other folks are going to be able to get into those assets and have assets. But once a JIRA admin creates an asset object field, you can associate it with a JIRA screen. So that means if you're working in a work management project or a JIRA project, effectively these become like any other field that is available for use in those projects, and you follow the exact same procedure you would to add them.
So this is as the JIRA admin, you go up to the cog, in the top right corner, you select work items, select screens, and then find the screen that I want to add the field to, and then find the asset field. So
Assuming you know your screen.
Or you could add it to somebody else's screen as the admin.
Yeah.
Or I suppose if you are a project admin and you have a layout, configure layout, it's workflows and screens, right? Are the two permissions for project admins?
Apparently,
No, it's
layout,
issue,
it's
it's
layout.
issue layout, which is different from the screen.
And then the
Yeah.
workflow, as long as it's not a shared workflow.
Right.
Yep. I'm gonna check myself.
Sarah Wright's gonna see if she's right.
I know.
We can hear you when you whisper.
I know.
All right. So the asset field, in order to make sure that you allow it on the JSM portal, you need to add it on the appropriate request forms. After selecting the request type, you can add the field and position it on the form. And there's a video showing you how to do it. We're not going to do that, but it's
8 minutes.
pretty standard. No, we want to get on to the questions.
Right. So I got 8 minutes to answer 3 questions.
All right, 8 minutes to answer 3 questions. Yeah.
Here we go.
Here we go.
Laura, a service project admin, is configuring a field to link IT assets with their respective service work items for easier tracking. She wants to ensure that when a service work item is created or updated, The related IT asset can be directly referenced within the work item. Which type of field should Laura use to achieve this functionality? And wrong answers only.
Text field.
Text field, user picker field, asset object field, or date picker field.
The thing we've been talking about for the last hour, asset
What?
object,
An
maybe.
asset object field? No way.
I wish the test was this easy. That would
Yeah,
be cool.
if only it had so much context. All right, Lisa, a service project admin, needs to create an assets field that displays IT assets and service work items. What steps should Lisa follow to create and configure this field? Create a JIRA field, select the asset field, configure the field to query asset objects, and associate the field with a JIRA screen. Or create a new object schema, add objects to the schema, and assign the schema to a project. Or configure global settings for all fields and apply them to the project. And lastly, create a field, configure it as a text field, and manually enter asset details.
I feel like this is on all wrong options. All I think it's the first one's the only one that makes sense to me.
It's the first one, but I think Alex is right. I think this question is wrong.
That you think she needs to have the schema and everything first? Or
No, I think Lisa needs to be a JIRA admin to do this.
correct.
Poor Bob. I'm gonna clip this. I think Alex is right.
If we're gonna have to flag that.
That'll be my. I'm gonna replace Alexa.
So, yeah, mark down 51 minutes and 20 seconds. That's
right.
There you go. Alex, Merry Christmas.
He's gonna get his own hashtag soon.
Lisa should create a JIRA field, select the assets field type. But remember, Lisa needs to be a JIRA admin to do this.
Yeah, Lisa should get an admin to do that.
Yeah.
Or become an
Okay.
admin.
John, a service project admin, wants to ensure that the field for selecting IT assets only displays laptops when the hardware type field is set to laptop. How should John configure this? Use a JQuery query to filter the field values. Configure the field with a filter scope AQL query that references the hardware type field. Manually update the field values each time the hardware type field changes, or set the field to display all assets regardless of the hardware type field.
I think it's the second one. It's the only one that would have like the filtering.
Is 3 out of 3. Hooray!
Ding, 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 ding. I gotta go take that test.
There you go.
Well, if only it was only about assets, then you should.
I know,
be
right?
fine. You're gonna be fine anyway.
How many more sessions do we need then, Bob? One.
We may not have
two.
to have all 4, but we'll
We
see
might give
how
ourselves
far
an early Thanksgiving if we don't have to need that next Wednesday one.
Yeah. All right. So we've been talking about assets, and on this one, we're going to talk about importing and exporting assets. So,
Which is one of the easiest ways to create them, if not the easiest.
it's
Clearly
the
easier
easiest way, and yet it's the
data
hardest
entry.
way. It's kind of paradoxical.
Exactly.
And we're sure we're gonna start a new session with 4 minutes left.
No, well,
We're just going to introduce it.
we're going to introduce it.
So it looks like it's going to be focused mostly on CSV and external databases. Look at it, it's so fast. And you can import a CSV, or you can export a CSV. And this just walks you through the steps. But I mean, honestly, if we're just looking at this from the perspective of people who want to take the ACP 420, then really we can just hyper focus on the idea that you can import from other sources using JSON, using CSV files or integrations, and then you can export data from assets into CSV files. So those are your two main takeaways from those two screens.
And just kind of looking at this, selecting the object schema, selecting the object type. Okay. Going into list view, this is almost from here on down. This is almost exactly the same way that you export a filter query in Jira to a CSV file. So you go into list view for it, you select your query, and then once you've got your query selected, you do bulk actions or you do the more actions, you select export, and then you can configure settings. So on this one, you're going to be selecting the delimiter, comma, tab, space, whatever, right? The encoding, usually it's going to be UTF-8. And then the format is user-friendly or data consistent. And then you just click on the big old export button.
Hey, Alex, what's the difference between user-friendly or data consistent?
I don't know.
The user-friendly will show the labels or the names sometimes. Sometimes name and label are the same inside of the assets, but user-friendly should show that, whereas the data consistent might show you an object reference. I'm pretty sure that's the case.
Yeah.
That it doesn't always show you oh, I know exactly what that is. I know what AFP-874 is. Everybody knows that. No. So that's why it's the data consistent format instead.
Once you export, you can import. So
well, actually, you can export your assets, but you can import not what you exported.
What are you importing, Sarah?
We're importing assets. Well, he said export your data. Was that meaning like export from another system?
I'm just messing with you.
Because that was exporting your assets.
Right. That was exporting your assets.
Yes. Now you're just importing
Yes.
some other data
I'm just messing with
potentially.
you.
Unless you're migrating. So yeah, so you can use those CSVs. You can use, there's a couple different ways, JSON. And then again, much like if you've ever imported work item data, it'll be similar because there's a bit of a mapping activity. So you have your file, you upload it. There are some settings that you go through that are the inverse of before, right? Or the same, but like what is your format? You don't have user-friendly versus data consistent on that. But when you go in and create your import structure, you're going to say, this is what it's like on the file I'm importing, and this is where I want to map that data to. And in the, you're going to have to tell it though, where is that data going to go? So much like you might select, I'm going to put it in this project. Instead, you're going to say, I'm going to put it in this schema, or maybe even I'm going to import these object types. When you map your data, you always have to have a label. You always want to have an identifier. So to make sure it matches up and aligns everything properly when your data comes in. You'll also be, you have ways to reference those other objects if they already exist out in your schemas. So you can do that in your import process as well. This is actually pretty lightweight, what we're talking about here, which yay. So then you enable that mapping. You've got it all in place. You go, yep, this is the one that I want to use. And then you can reuse it later when you add additional, when you replace those files that you've uploaded. And then you execute the import. So once everything is hunky-dory, you can export it and watch it happen. And then our info button, Jira administrators and asset managers can configure imports in assets. So that is not everybody can do that. Our friends, the developers, may not be enabled to carry out these imports.
Right.
And our import types. All right, let's just do import types and then call it, because then we're over. Okay. So we've got CSV, JSON, asset discovery. Import types are available in assets. So CSV is, as you might imagine, a CSV file, comma delimited, or separated. Our JSON can be used to retrieve data from REST services. A lot of systems do use JSON. And if you can connect directly to another system, it's better than using export from CSV to do that. Assets discovery is something that comes along with your assets platform app. Well, it's a separate application.
It's a separate application. You get it at the Atlassian Marketplace.
Okay.
It's actually an executable for PCs. So that's actually one of the disadvantages is you set up what's called a asset discoveries agent, and it's got to be a PC on the network. So when you install the assets discovery app on the PC, its job is to sniff around the network and collect up the assets information, and then from there you can take that assets discovery file and load it into assets as an import.
Gotcha.
So it's not exactly my favorite.
It's a potential answer on your 420 exam. If they said, what are the 4 ways you can import data into your assets? Assets discovery is one of them. That's what it is. And our external import pushes data into assets. Assets has no configuration parameters other than identifying external as the import type. It's configured outside of JSM by writing code that uses JSM import API. And please refer further to the assets documentation. All right, and our last blue eye on here, additional apps available for free on the Atlassian Marketplace can extend import types. Integrations are available for many popular systems, including AWS, ServiceNow, Tempo, and others. These are installed as separate apps in Jira Service Management and are available for free. That's why it said additional apps are available for free.
Yeah, it says the integrations are free. The actual products are not. The best example I can think of is Device 42, for which I got into an 80s music kick and called them Level 42.
Yes.
But Device 42, the integration to Device 42, absolutely free. The actual Device 42 service, not so much.
Exactly.
I say we kind of call it. We call it here,
Yeah.
and we see everybody on Wednesday.
Wednesday. Sounds good. After I will have spent 2 whole days talking about JSM.
This is why you're the natural for this course, Sarah. You're Ms. JSM.
Oh gosh, I'm going to be babbling by the time we get to Wednesday at 7 my time. All right.
Bye, everybody.
Bye.
See you, friends.